In this lesson, we are going to be talking about repeat signs. Now, repeat signs are little symbols that look like this. See, it's sort of like a final bar line with two dots. And those symbols will help us actually repeat measures or entire lines of music, or maybe just one measure at a time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through two examples in this lesson. We're going to go through example 27 and 28. And I'm going to break down for you what we're going to do, and then I'm going to talk through it. So in example 27, we're going to start in measure 1. We read through measure 1 all the way to the end, at which point we hit the repeat sign. The repeat sign is like a bumper. It bumps us back to the beginning of the piece of music, and then we read all the way from the beginning to the end. And that bumper is only worth one bump. That repeat sign doesn't continuously bump you back and forth forever. It just bumps you one time, and at the end, we treat it like a final bar line, and the song is over. So I'm going to ta 27. Looking at and the time signature is for 4, so the count in is going to be for 4. Here we go. Get the pulse, count in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, 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 bounce back, ta, 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 ta. There you go. Now let's look at example 28. So example 28 is pretty interesting because instead of having one repeat sign just at the end, we also have a repeat sign here at the beginning. Now, you may see this when you are out in the wild reading and playing real pieces of music or analyzing real pieces of music. But here's the thing. This second, so we have 1, 2. We have one repeat sign, 2 repeat signs. This second repeat sign right here, it is called redundant. Redundant means it is not necessary. It doesn't actually do anything. However, there have been many people throughout history who have used that type of extra repeat sign there, even though it does not do anything. So this is more just to show you and to let you know that you may see this out in the world, but it's not actually important and you don't actually need to use it, and no extra action is required. You would still read the piece in the same way. You start from measure 1, you go through to measure 4, back to measure 1, through to measure 4. It works exactly the same as our single repeat sign that we saw up here, and that's why this is actually called single repeat sign 1, and this one is called single repeat sign 2. It's that even though there's 2 repeat signs, only one of the repeat signs actually matters and is actually doing any work. This bumps us back to the beginning, and we do not need this extra repeat sign here. It doesn't do anything. There's no extra bumping needed. It does not help you do anything. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we are going to talk about double repeat signs when they actually have 2 repeat signs that are doing something, not just one repeat sign at the beginning of the first measure and then the repeat sign in measure 4 that's doing all the work. Using pages from my #1 bestseller book, The Best Music Theory Book for Beginners, that sold over 5,000 copies. My name is Dan Spencer. I'm your music mentor. The full playlist with over 100 music theory lessons is in the video description. I recommend watching them in order. And now, back to the lesson. So, whenever you have a start repeat sign or a second repeat sign, so here's our first one right here. Here's our second one right here. And you see this one's facing in. This one's facing in. And it's like a backwards final bar line that's facing to the right as opposed to the left. We're actually going to bounce between these two. So yeah, let's unpack that. When we have a second one, 1, 2, in measure 1, at the beginning, before the notes start. If you have that repeat sign before the notes start, it doesn't do anything. It's redundant. However, if you have a second repeat sign that is after the notes start, like right here, that's actually going to do something. So what's going to happen here is we're going to start at the beginning. We're going to read left to right like we always do. This repeat sign bumps us back to this repeat sign, which then bumps us to the end. So to tot, here we go. Getting the pulse, looking at the time signature, it's 4/4, so counting is 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, 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 ta. Ta, ta. Ta, ta. Ta, ta. So that is how a double repeat sign works. It actually bounces us back and forth between the two repeat signs. Now let's look at a double repeat sign over 8 measures instead of 4 measures. So let's talk through this, let's walk through this, and then I'll ta through it. So we're going to start left to right, top to bottom, as we would normally do, but here's what happens. We go like this, we go to second line, but what happens is that this repeat sign right here catches us before we can get to the end. So we're not allowed to go to this measure yet because we have this repeat sign before it. So this repeat sign is going to bounce us back. But where's it going to bounce us to? Not the beginning, but to that second repeat sign there, which is then going to bounce us all the way through. And the second time we ignore that repeat sign and we make it to the end. That was a little complicated. Go back, review this, read the page a bunch of times, look through those arrows, and I'm going to tot one time for you, and hopefully that'll help make more sense for you as well. Here we go. Time sig is 4/4, so the countdown is going to be for 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ta, 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 ta. Ta, 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 ta. Ta, ta, ta. I will see you in the next lesson. In the next 2 lessons, we're going to be talking about how to write repeat signs. In this lesson, we're just going to talk about how to write them, not in the context of music or in the context of measures, just writing repeat signs by themselves. We're going to do this lesson in 2 parts. First, I'm going to talk you through it, walk you through it, and then I'm actually going to write on some staff paper so you can copy me in real time or just see me do it as I talk you through it in real time. So we're going to talk about repeat signs in 2 different ways. We're going to talk about start repeat signs, and those are the ones with the dots on the right side, like this. And then we're going to talk about end repeat signs that have the dots on the left. So to write a start repeat sign, we need to write a backwards final bar line. That's step number 1. And then number 2, we add a dot above and below line 3 of the staff. And to write an end repeat sign, we write a regular final bar line, and then we write a dot above and below line 3 of the staff. To write a start repeat sign, we're going to start by writing a backwards final bar line. So that's going to be thick, thin, instead of thin, thick. There we go. And then a dot just above and below line 3 of the staff. And, we could color that in a little bit better. But that's basically the idea. Now, to write an end repeat sign, we're going to write a regular final bar line. Boom. That's going to be thin, thick. And then add a dot above and below line 3 of the staff. I will see you in the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to write repeat signs into your compositions for either 4 measures or 8 measure original rhythmic compositions. We can see that how to write a repeat sign at the end of a line of staff, all you've got to do is set up your line of staff like you normally do. Divide it in half, divide it into quarters, add a final bar line, percussion clef, time signature, and all you're going to do, boop, add those 2 dots in there. So the only difference is that from the top to the bottom, we've got those 2 little dots right there. And that's basically it for writing a repeat sign. So if you want someone to go through something twice, all you got to do is write a repeat sign at the end, and you can do it at the end of 4 measures or at the end of 8 measures, either way. Now let's talk about how to write repeat signs in the middle of a line of staff. So number 1, you're going to set yourself up with a line of music like you normally do. Bar line, divide in half, 2 more bar lines, divide in quarters, final bar line at the end, percussion clef, time signature. If you're doing 8 measures, obviously just a regular bar line at the end of measure 4, and then the final bar line at the end of measure 8. Then for step number 2, you're going to write your start repeat sign where you want people to bounce back to. Now in this case, the start repeat sign is on measure 2. So basically what we're doing is we're coloring over the regular bar line with the thick part of our final bar line to make that start repeat sign right there. And then step number 3 is to write the next repeat sign, because remember, we don't want people to go all the way to the end. You want to keep them contained within the line of staff. So we're going to write the second repeat sign there. So with this, people would go boom, 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 just like that. So our end repeat sign bounces us back to our start repeat sign, and then we skip the end repeat sign and go to the end. Last one for us to talk about is how to write repeat signs over multiple lines of staff. So let's say you have 8 measures that you want to do an original rhythmic composition on. All you're going to do is set up your 8 measures like you normally would. Remember your regular bar line here, your final bar line here, and remember percussion clefs on both lines of the staff. Then what you'll do is you'll decide where you want to have your start and your end repeat sign. In this case, we put the start repeat sign here, and we put the end repeat sign here. So what this piece looks like, get ready, this is, you can get squiggly. We start, we go from here to here, in which case we bounce back to here. We go through one more time to the end. Squiggle, squiggle, squiggle. This is almost identical in the way it works to the double repeat sign here, except the end repeat sign is just 1 measure forward. It's in measure 6 as opposed to measure 7. In this example right here, you can see that in the clapping tying example, it was here and it's just moved here. So you can put repeat signs wherever you want in your music for your compositions. And I will see you in the next lesson. Oh, but it's not over yet. Click here to watch the next video lesson, or up here for the full video playlist.